just recently, I just noticed it, and they did it over the weekend. WWE released a WCW YouTube, and they're dropping like full events, full matches, segments, and they had a live watch thing where they basically just kind of played live wrestling for the last 3 days, and I kind of tuned in a bunch of times, and there was a feeling that I had forgotten that I didn't realize that I had, but I miss WCW. Like when I was watching it, and I'm talking 1991 Super Brawl. They showed like 1988. They were showing 96, 90. They even showed the last WCW pay-per-view, Greed, which was crazy.
Geez.
Yeah. So, but there were moments from WCW that I remember very fondly, and I'm watching it back and seeing some of those moments really kind of rekindled it. So I figured we would use today to kind of just talk, since it just launched, we would kind of talk some of our favorite WCW moments. There's no like particular list. You don't need like a top 5 or anything. Just some of your favorite moments. We'll start with Malik because you have the Instagram I Love Wrestling History. Go follow him on Instagram. You would probably know the most about the history. What were some of your favorite moments from WCW? Obviously, let's just right out of the box exclude Hogan joining the NWO. Because
so I don't know if it's just me, but I never looked at Sting defeating Hogan as anything fondly, just because of the screw finish. Like looking back at it now, at the time, as a teenager, yes, and I was a grown adult man, I was just like,
it was ugly. It was an ugly finish.
This is messy. I love Surfer Sting, so
yeah.
I wasn't. I obviously I didn't know or pay attention much mind to when he was chasing Flair for the title, but when he had the rivalry with Luger, that was one of my favorites to watch. His matches up against Vader were awesome. His matches against Cactus Jack. Surfer Sting was just the best to me.
Yeah, he was. It was very. I missed that Sting.
So
that's one of the things I missed most when I was watching WCW. By the way,
yeah.
My first WCW memory, like that I can remember a match, is Sting and Flair against Terry Funk and Muta at Halloween Havoc in that cage, and Sting swinging on the rope and being like, "This is the coolest fucking guy I've ever seen in my life."
Sting is great.
Like WCW had moments that were like really cool when you go back and watch it.
You go back and watch him, yeah. And here's obviously one of my favorite moments from WCW, and it was obviously later. It was in the 90s. It was when Sting was doing the crow gimmick. It was one of the first times he had dropped from the ceiling. It was on a pay-per-view. I don't know if it was uncensored.
Uncensored.
Oh, was it uncensored? Where he gets in the ring and he starts attacking everybody?
Yep.
When I tell you, that was the very first time that I had fully marked out for a WCW wrestler. Yeah. You want to talk this bullshit? Yeah. When Sting comes down and he starts beating the shit out of the NWO and Macho Man comes off and he hits him with the bat.
Because you don't know what he's going to do. He hasn't, he's attacked everyone at that point.
Bro, I went fucking bananas for that moment in that day. When Nash beat Goldberg, I know people tend to shit on it, but I went bananas for it because I couldn't stand Goldberg. I loved it when I watched it. When they fucking shock him and they jackknife him. And even then, I was like, dude, they didn't bury you. They needed a cattle prod. Beat you, and you still had an attitude about it. Like, it's fucking crazy. But even the finger poke of doom, while stupid and confusing, still was like, the thing. Okay, so Nash wins the title from Goldberg on Sunday. He then fights Hogan the next night on Nitro.
Like a week later, actually.
No, it was a week later because Hogan was supposed to be retiring.
Because it was the same night that Foley wound up defeating The Rock for the title. So that was a crazy time in wrestling. You think about it in the early 99.
He's going to fight Hulk Hogan. At the time, they were two separate NWO entities. There was the Wolfpack versus the Black and White. So there was like a lot of animosity. So you thought it was going to be like a legitimate match between the two, right? They get in the ring. Hulk Hogan literally does this to Nash. He bumps, he pins him, he wins the belt. That's called the finger poke of doom. Yes. Now, if I don't want to go back to WWF, but the best finger poke of doom to me was Shawn Michaels
and Triple H.
For the European Championship on Monday Night Raw. When Shawn Michaels cries, it was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
And nobody batted an eye about that. And the fact that Hogan came in where he was playing off like he was going to go into politics.
It
was the whole thing. It's so ridiculous.
I got a great WCW moment. Dean Malenko winning Battle Royal as Sequel Pay
Yeah.
Yes.
and taking the mask off, and you watch the crowd because you know it's him, and the fucking crowd at that moment. Demon League could have main evented WrestleMania the way he was getting over at that time.
Crowd was over. Yeah, that crowd was.
They go nuts, and he just goes off on
If
Jericho.
you remember that moment, there was a moment where people are like, "What the hell?" Because Hoovy looks right at Cyclope, doesn't say a word, just nods and jumps out and eliminates himself. People are like, "What the fuck?" And then at that moment, people start kind of putting it together. Like, wait a minute, I don't think this is actually Cyclope because they're not going to make this guy fight Chris Jericho. And then that mask removal was pretty fucking awesome. Listen, the very first Nitro, Lex Luger showing up. That was played a bunch of times on that live stream. That was a fucking crazy moment. I remember going, what the fuck is happening right now? Why is Lex Luger here on Nitro? It was even when Macho Man showed up on WCW Saturday Night. Like, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Scott Steiner betraying Rick Steiner was pretty. It's up there for me.
Yep.
Hell yeah. That was a big fucking moment, too.
That was something you were not expecting to see.
No. Yeah. Although, at that point, Scott Steiner at that point was literally the definition of genetic freak. Like, it was crazy how he was starting to look right at the end of his run with the Stein brothers. And when he went into Big Papa Pump, it was fucking crazy. You know, another moment from WCW, speaking of Big Papa Pump, when he came out with the tiger on the chain. Yeah, a real tiger. They were probably backstage because they had to be backstage when you used animals. He came out with a tiger as an entrance. He had him on a chain. He just come walking out, walking like a dog.
DDP dressed as La Parka.
The Diamond Cutting Macho Man. Great fucking moment.
David Arquette.
Jesus Christ. You want to speak of a moment. The only thing I'll take away from that era, the only thing I'll take away from that era is WCW came up with one of my favorite matches, which was that triple cage. They took it from the movie.
Do you remember the first time they did something like that, where it was Hogan and Savage going against the entire Horseman and Dungeon of Doom?
The Doomsday matches. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They wrestled like at least 8 dudes, and one of them was Zeus. Oh.
If I'm not mistaken, it was like Zeus and Yeti. It was two giant guys. It was so fucking weird. Yeah.
Luger. I think Luger winning
Nitro. Hell yeah, man. Listen, those guys got the spotlight put on them. I know ECW. Paul Heyman will always take credit, and he deserves credit. He brought them in first, but nobody was watching ECW at that time. Nobody. No, you didn't realize the spotlight was on Lucha Libre until Eric Bischoff started bringing them all in, and he started.
That's a good one, pun.
On night, Conan hitting the Diamond Cutter on every.
Oh, Canyon.
Canyon.
He meant Canyon.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read Conan. I meant Canyon. Yeah, Canyon. I remember that. Canyon too. He was a good wrestler. Very highly underrated, I believe.
The innovator of offense.
Yeah. Chris Canyon. I like Mortis. I like that gimmick Mortis. I thought it was good when it first came out.
They actually have matches of him as Mortis in WWE, which is great.
Yeah, I know everyone talks about Luger racking Hogan to win the title. When Luger racks Big Show and gets like that first like big win for WCW.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just watching. I don't know if it was him on Chris Van Vliet or it was him on the Undertaker podcast, but he was like he didn't know he was winning the belt until right before he walked out. Hogan and Bischoff pulled him off to the side and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna put the belt on you." And he's like, "You serious right now?" And Hogan looked at me and said, "This crowd loves you. You're over. We're gonna put the belt on you." And obviously Hogan wins it back. What, a couple weeks later?
A week later.
A week later.
Yeah.
But like,
speaking of Lex Luger, congratulations.
Going to the Hall of Fame. Man.
Going to Hall of Fame, well deserved.
Yeah. I like how they did it too. He was just hanging out. Did you see that thing where he asked Chat GPT about WCW Grand Slam wrestlers? And they don't say his name.
That video's hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, "Can you tell me Grand Slam?" And they name everybody else, including DDP, who starts laughing.
Their first name they say is crazy. It said Chris Benoit. Like, that was the first name that comes up. I was like, "Geez."
At the very end, Lex Luger goes, "Huh? Wait." And he goes, "What about Lex Luger?" It was pretty good, man.
Tristan there said the Shockmaster. I think we can all start naming bad WCW moments.
I'll get you right now. That 70s guy.
Mike Awesome?
Yeah.
The Fat Chick Thriller. That was him.
Fat Chick Thriller. Yeah. Okay. The
and-
Natural Born Thrillers were terrible at the end.
I know we're getting on bad things. I will say one good thing. If you go back, I think it was Bash at the Beach. It's Scott Steiner versus Mike Awesome. It is a very good match.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen.
Okay. Rufus. Rufus is great.
I'm glad you brought that up because you just literally Jericho's entire.
I think he means Ralphus.
Ralphus.
He got it.
Yeah, Ralphus. But Jericho's entire heel run in WCW to me was one of my favorite things about WCW. Man of 1,004 holds, the list, Ralphus, everything he did with his hair. Whenever he would come out and cut a promo, he would say something silly at the beginning, or he would do something conspiracy theory shit he did. That was hilarious. Like I said, there was a lot of moments in WCW where you were like, oh, this is awesome. Like they kind of turned wrestling on its head, essentially, in terms of, at least at that point. I know ECW was doing a lot of shit that was kind of similar, and WWE and WCW jacked their style. But listen, they jacked your style because you weren't on the same plateau as them.
No.
So when you stick it, they can't steal from you, and no one's going to give you credit because you're not on the same stage. Essentially, I know it's the truth, and obviously Paul Heyman gets his flowers now for it, but it doesn't matter. WCW had some great fucking moments, man.
Yeah.
RoboCop.
And of course, Jim Ross's enthusiastic commentary. It's RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop. See,
RoboCop. See, you want to get into fucking cap? Remember Chucky, the doll?
Oh my
He was
god!
talking to Rick Steiner. Remember that?
What the shot? Not Chuck. What was the one with Metallica?
The movie had just come out.
You mean Kiss?
Kiss. Sorry,
the Kiss.
The Demon.
The Demon.
Yeah, the Kiss Demon. I remember him.
Oh my god!
He was the strength and conditioning coach for the White Sox. Remember on TNA?
Yeah,
Danny Tartable.
Yeah. Danny Tartable. I thought he was a baseball player.
No.
Dale Torborg.
Dale Torborg.
Yeah. He said Danny Tartable.
I was like, who?
Danny Tartable was a baseball player. Oh my goodness! But the bottom line is, WCW is up on YouTube. They're constantly now starting to add new stuff. I believe it's because they said on the network a lot of people aren't watching these things, so they're kind of taking it off the WWE network. If you notice, there's some things it's missing. You're like, what the fuck happened to these shows? It's because they're saying that no one's watching them. Like the new audience, like the young kids, they're not watching WCW. And think about it this way. When we were young, we watched it because we wanted to be wrestlers, right? But when we were marks, I didn't go back and watch Bruno Sammartino. I didn't do that shit until I wanted to be a wrestler. And I had to watch.
I'm still not watching Bruno. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
WCW let it all hang out.
Bear hug, clothesline.
Thank you for paving the way, but he was not interested.
No, Cure for Insomnia.
Sorry.
Cure for Insomnia, those old wrestling. But that's what I'm saying. But I feel like people, the young people now, because of the way wrestling is now, because it's right, it's hard to watch the 90s.
Well, and also think about it. WCW's been dead for 24 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You know, if you were born in 2000 and 2005. You don't remember. You don't know what it is.
Put it this way: my wife was born in 1995. Felix, who the last guy I was training, it's still kind of work with, obviously. He was born in 1995. When he first started training with me, I brought up Chris Jericho's list, and he said, "What's WCW?"
Right?
And I looked at
you beloved soul.
I said, "What?" And he said, and I said, "You said you don't remember, you don't notice," and I had to make him go and watch all this stuff.
You know what Chris Jericho's list is to these kids? You just made the list.
You just made the list. Exactly. That's no. Chris Jericho's list in 1997, he said that he was the man of 1,004 holds because Dean Malenko was the man of 1,000 holds. So he knew 4 more holds than Dean Malenko. So he was a better wrestler. And he comes out on Monday Nitro and drops those Xerox papers that just fold, this long fucking list of wrestling holds, and he starts rattling them off. Okay, and they go to commercial break. They come back. He's still rattling the list off. Okay, so it was a moment that, to me, like I said, it was when you think WCW, a lot of people bring up that.
It's crazy, like arm bar, arm hold, arm lock.
He says arm bar 4 or 5 times.
Saskatchewan Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, the Saskatchewan spinning nerve hold. That was the one. Yeah, the shooting star stapled super press was another one. The 3-handle family credential.
Credential. There you go.
All those things. And then he goes arm bar between everyone. So like it was very, very funny, man. Like I said, if you don't remember those moments, WCW is going to be on obviously YouTube now. I'm sure those moments will pop up. I'm sure you're going to get full nitros, they have the first episode of Thunder, which is funny to me. I don't remember the Thunder set until I watched this thing, and it was like a rooftop.
it was like Timu SmackDown Fist.
Yeah, dude, it was so fucking funny, man, when I watched that shit. But for real, dude, if you haven't seen WCW, like I said, a lot of young kids don't really watch it. They're not into the old shit, but that old shit, man, is it fucking good. Compelling storytelling. You got another one? Let's see. Bring it up. You can bring it up if you want. All right, so WCW let it all hang out. They were the only ones to give Vince a run for his money. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it wasn't until they started using some realism, because when they were trying to do gimmick shit, Hulk Hogan was touching water and talking about how it wasn't hot. You know, and he was getting what looked like to be butt fucked by a fucking guy in a Yeti costume.
And the attack! Oh my God, I can't believe we're coming up on 30 years of that.
I know. Dude, it's crazy.
We got a little bit of breaking news here.
Hold on a second. You're not going to mention Scott Steiner, the Purple Warrior. Now I know Buddy Rogers is dead. God rest his soul. Did he say that? I assume. Scott Steiner's promos back in WCW when they let the fucking governor.
Oh, when he went off on Flair.
Yeah, he's an old piece of shit, right? So whatever he called him and shit.